Hello, friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our presentation. I'm so glad that you are here. If we have not met, my name is Nikki Loney from Full Voice Music. And if you're new to Full Voice Music, we are a small but mighty Canadian music education company. We specialize in resources for young singers. Live office hours is where we get to hang out with our friends and our colleagues and share some strategies about those challenges that we have in our teaching studio. Today, we are talking about a big one, and one that happens to all of us, that is organizing our resources. And a lot of great questions were submitted. I have to thank everybody for taking the time. Great comments, some of you had some great suggestions, which I'm going to share today too. I love those hacks that people sent me. And we've got some cool things to show you. So my goal is that you walk away with some inspiration and some more ideas how to keep the resources in line, in order in your studio. I'm going to use the Linda says that the picture of the studio looks like hers. You know what? That was how my studio looked like after recitals. Anybody like have a season where you just have like a million things going and there's just music everywhere and there's just nothing you can do about it? Yeah, right? So let's get started. If you are watching the replay or if you're listening to the podcast, if you are feeling a little overwhelmed with those resources, I think now is a perfect time, as people in the Northern Hemisphere are getting ready for a new season of singing, to take some time and to look at what your workspace is, your learning space is like, and does it work for you, or is it working for your students? But if you're feeling a little overwhelmed, you're not alone. There's a lot of stuff that's going on there. The one thing I'm going to start with, lovingly, when it comes to organizing your resources, before we get into strategies, I think the first thing we need to make peace with, and I'm sending you all a big hug, is you are allowed to let stuff go. I'm looking at the chat. Some of you are shaking your head. No, I'm not allowed to let things go. I see you. I want to share something. How many people have become the keeper of somebody else's music collection? Yes, everybody. I know. So I have to share a story. So my teaching studio was in our church. And every single time, I swear, every single time somebody passed away, within a few weeks or a month, there'd be a box of music that would be just left at my studio door. Just not gifted to me, burdened me with their music. And 99% of the time, most of it was so old and so disintegrating that no one could possibly use it, but we couldn't get rid of it. We have to give it to the music teacher. Yeah, Linda says, yes, left for me in the church office. Isn't that something? I actually have antique music books up here. I'm not going to grab them, that I use as decorative because they were kind of small and cool. So there are some things you can do with that gifted music. I have also framed old sheet music artwork because I found it to be really cool. The really old sheet music sells well on eBay. Just say no, Linda. I mean, unless you have all the time in the world and you want to spend your time uploading things onto eBay. I'd regularly get, you're a musician, you can use this. I know. It's something. And the hymn books, the old hymn books from the church. Yeah, getting rid of those is like, they just get stored somewhere in the church for centuries, right? I want to give everybody a little bit of a permission slip or a nudge. You do not need to hang on to someone else's legacy if it does not serve you. And the one thing I will say, if somebody has gifted you illegal photocopies, get rid of them. Get rid of that. Is just bad energy. Bad energy right there. And we do not need to be organizing somebody's illegally copied music. All right. So but also, if you know that pulling it out is going to cause it to disintegrate, it's okay to let it go. Anyhow, I recognize that this is a challenge, and I know the big one is I often feel overwhelmed with the sheer amount of music, but I don't like to give it up, give any of it up because I might need it one day. Okay. So what do we do if we're just going to hang on? So if I did not convince you to let some stuff go and go down to the recycling center with a bunch of boxes of old music, this is the way you want to look at it, and I think it's really helpful. You can sort your resources kind of by how often do I actually reach for this. So things that are your go-to core that you use every week. Then you have things that are situational or seasonal and you might to look at it. But anything else, archive. And if archiving is a box hidden in a closet somewhere and you'll deal with it later, it's better than being in your teaching space. So if that gives you any peace, knowing that you can at least box it up and get it out of sight, out of mind, so it's not a distraction, that would be a great thing to do. Now, I love this question, and many of you ask this. How do you sort out years of information down to the things you really find important and to know how to find them quickly if needed for a lesson? This is the key question because this is what we're going to focus on today. When you are looking at organization, whether it's your papers, whether it's a digital organization, it isn't a decision between choosing one or the other. It's actually having a consistent logic or a consistent system for where materials belong. And the question, which was in the question, the most important thing here, how quickly can you find it? That's what it comes down to. If you're like 5 minutes before a student's coming in and you're like, oh, I need to do that warm up, and that's going to take you more than 5 minutes, that's going to be stressful. Or even sometimes in a lesson, I know I've done this, where it's like, you know what, let's do this. And you get that aha idea that's going to connect with the student, and you got to find it quickly. You don't want to sit there going through binders or flipping through your file folders. So the question is, how do you organize it so that you can find it? So let's kind of work through that. First of all, prioritizing your weekly needs. So focus on the resources that you use every week in teaching, and those need to be hands-on, out of reach, available. So in my studio, I used to have a little not a big one, but just a little bookshelf that was kind of behind my piano where I could just kind of reach back and grab something. And it had some bins for props and games and toys. But that was I'm not going to get up from the piano. I'm going to reach over and get what I need pile. Then, for those of you, because a lot of people were asking about digitizing their resources, if you are in there, I want to give you some direction here. You really only want to digitize any resources that truly enhance your workflow. If you've given yourself a task to digitize your entire music collection, come on, that is just a nice time-wasting activity that's going to make you feel productive. But if you're never going to access like 90% of the music that you have digitized, that's a big time suck. I said what I said. So only digitize what you truly need for your workflow, and then keeping physical materials. Now, I know if you're teaching online, this might be a different reality, but if you are in an in-person, it's normal to have both digitized resources and hands-on resources. And you need to decide what works best for your studio. But prioritizing what you use now, what is essential now, what is seasonal now, is going to save you so much time down the road. And it's also going to help you to box up and archive the things that you don't need. I would also like to encourage people to use tools and systems that work for you. Some people were asking, should I use folders? Should I use binders? Friends, it really depends on what your storage system looks like or what you would like your storage system to look like. So if you've got a big bookcase and binders and folders all kind of work in there, great. If you've got a big filing cabinet, it really depends on you. A tip though, I find a lot of my office supplies at secondhand thrift stores. So like Value Village will always have like the file folders. I think it's called Super Savers in the US, I think, Value Village for us. But I find colored folders, like the hanging folders. I find bags of those all the time, much cheaper. And sometimes if you go to like Staples or a stationery store, you have to buy like 500. So when I go to Value Village, I get a little package. It makes me happy. It's kind of one of the things I look for when I'm going thrifting. Now, for those of you who are digitizing or thinking about digitizing, there are a lot of benefits. And yes, we are moving to a digitized system. Everything is kind of going that way. When you are digitizing any of your music, your resources, PDFs, it does improve searchability, like your ability to find it, and accessibility, but only if you have systems set up to do that. That's the key. So don't just start scanning things and throwing them into your drive. We got a little bit of work to do. And before I get into that, I do want to remind everybody, and I know everybody here in my Zoom room, I know you would not need this reminder, but for anybody watching online or on YouTube, just because you scanned a piece of music does not mean that you have the legal permission to share it with any of your students. Unless you have purchased a resource that comes with a license, and if you purchase full voice resources, they do come with licenses which allow you to share them with your students. But if you're just going through songbooks and you're digitizing and scanning, those are not, you can use them in your app for Fourscore or something like that, but we don't have the permission to share the actual file itself. So just a little word to the, we can't complain about people not supporting the arts if we are the biggest violators of copyright law. Just putting that out there. Little spicy. All right. Let's talk about those structures. So before you start scanning, if you are looking to get all of your documents organized, whether you're using a Google Drive, at Full Voice, we are Google Drive and we are PCs. We don't use Macs. So we have Google Drive. If you're using a Mac, iCloud. But when you are setting up your folders, you need to have a clear folder hierarchy that makes sense for your business. Now, these are just sample ones, but the name of your studio, a folder for studio admin or financial documents, your lesson library, maybe a folder for all your students. I taught group classes, so I had a folder for all of my group class materials. If you teach other instruments, obviously you would probably have a subcategory of voice, ukulele, piano, whatever it is you teach. But this hierarchy is really important. And again, there's no one way of doing it. It's what serves your studio and what will help you find those files easier. That is step one. But in addition to having your hierarchy, you need to have a file naming formula. And this is where a little bit of effort up at the beginning of the task is going to save your life down the road. With your file name, now if you're just using a generic scanner, it just gives you like a string of numbers and maybe the date, right? So you want to go in and make sure that you're renaming your files that you need to access using a file naming formula. Now, this is a sample one. You can choose what would work for you. But category would be first, then the title of it, the level, if you are organizing by level or by age, and then the date. Now, again, you might not need the date, but that all of that information can be in your file name, which means when you search lip trills, anything that comes up that is a lip trill is going to auto-populate when you search for that. So you can see here in the examples, you've got warm up underscore lip trills underscore beginner underscore the year. Those types of naming, file naming formulas, and again, you might customize it. You might not need the date, you might need the instrument first, whatever it is you need. All of those things in the file name can go a long way. This is one of the things that we've actually, Mim and I at Full Voice have been going through a huge overhaul of our file name systems, of our catalogs, of organizing everything. And when my files come in, like if an invoice comes in through email and I go to file it, I change the file name to make sure it has the company name, the date of the invoice, and the amount of the invoice. So if I'm ever lost, if ever I'm looking for a receipt for $362, if I go and search my Google Drive, 362, that will come up. And again, it's a little bit more work at the beginning. You got to rename your files, but when you know what you're going to be looking for, you'll never be missing a file. So file naming formulas, think about how you want to organize, think about what information is best for you, for how you search, for how you look, and then incorporate that. And that has to become a habit, because if you're like me, you do it for a couple months and then you forget, and then you're like, wow, what? Oh, I hate my life. Mim's laughing because she knows it's exactly what I do. Anyhow, the other thing too with Google Drive, you can color code the folders in there. Visual things that help you find things are so helpful. I also want to shout out to Lisa and to a bunch of other people who are like, organized by season. And I'm like, yes! If you're doing choral music, if you have seasonal recitals, oh my goodness. So Halloween would be a big one. Obviously Christmas, sacred music. Organizing through season is so helpful. And maybe it's a colored sticker on the folder. Maybe it's the color of the folder on your desktop. Whatever helps to get that. And then the other thing is, people are like, do I need to organize by levels and ages? And again, it really depends on if you're going to need to search something by either beginner, intermediate, or advanced, or maybe you do examinations, you need grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. That would be a choice that you would make if it makes sense for you to search things that way. But again, you might not. You might be able just to put all Halloween stuff into one folder and then find what you need. It really, really depends. Now, I do want to mention, if you are sharing, if you're using Google folders, and a lot of teachers do this, and several teachers shared this as a tip that they loved. Using a shared Google folder for your students is a wonderful tool. The challenge is you got to get families on board with using your system. But as far as organizing any resources, any correspondence, any student notes, having a Google folder with your student's name on it, and then it's shared with the student and with the family, so they have access at any time to what you're working on or any resources that have been assigned to that student. It's important that you understand sharing permissions in Google folders. You have to make sure that you've created whether they can edit it, whether they have access to it. If you want people to be able to also upload information, some teachers like to get videos from their students, maybe a practicing video or whatever, and that can also be uploaded into that same shared Google folder. That's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful way to keep your students organized. Now, I want to do a little mini demonstration. So as I was saying earlier, Mim and I, and actually the entire team at Full Voice, has been going through a massive organizational redo and reorganization of our resources. We've gone through our SOPs, our systems, our procedures. We've updated files, and we have like hundreds of thousands of pieces of information that have to be cataloged for every single resource that we put out. Hundreds of thousands of pieces of information. And a few years ago, in desperation, I was like Googling, like, what do big companies like Pixar or big video content editing, what do they use to organize all of their materials? And Notion came up as one of the resources that a lot of those companies use. So does anybody here use Notion? Has anybody ever seen it? I'm just gonna look down there. No? Okay. You might want to check this out. Notion is, first of all, good news. There is a free tier. So you can try Notion for free. But Notion is basically, you get a blank page and then you can put on that page whatever you like. Notes, documents, you can upload images, you can create to-do lists, but you can do tasks and projects. I do know that quite a few teachers use it to organize student notes. But the most impressive thing is databases. Oh yes, and Mim would just like me to remind you, we have no affiliation with Notion. We are not making any money here. We just use it, and we would die if we couldn't use it. We literally have no other options. So I want to show everybody, we've done up a sample database. So if you are digitizing all of your resources, songbooks, everything, and you want to know where things are at a click, you want to create a database, and Notion allows you to do that. So I'm just going to stop my share for a moment. I'm going to show you our teaching resource page. Bear with me here, friends. All right, so what you are looking at is, can everybody see my database? Okay, so what this is a very quick creation of a simple database in Notion that is a bunch of our teaching resources. So we have our children's songs of praise book. We have a solo that our students love to sing, Count on Me. Everybody loves Count on Me. We have the hot chocolate warm-up song. We've basically just gone and we've listed a bunch of resources. Now, what's beautiful in this type of database is you customize it with any kind of category or any kind of information that you need about that resource. So if we're looking at children's songs of praise, I can define that the copy I have is a print copy. It is a songbook. It is for all ages. Over here, I've got a note that one of my students sang one of those tunes. You can keep notes if you've used a resource. We also have the sacred genre there. And when I click on this, you'll see that we've created little options. So you don't have to fill it in each time. There's just, you create like a little drop-down menu and you can put in what you need, which is a great time saver. This list does go on. We've got themes, seasonal, teaching focus, storage location. You can also put URLs. So every single folder you have on your Google Drive has a URL, a spot where you can find it. You can link all of your resources where they are, whether it's an external website, whether it's on your hard drive, whether it's somewhere else. You can put all of this into your database. Now, what's cool is every Notion, I'm just going to round this back here, every Notion database allows you to organize it. So maybe you would like to see things organized by songbook or by song package, sheet music. These are all my warm-ups. You can organize it by seasonal, I think is there. Yes, a seasonal table. So here's my Christmas and winter and holiday. So you can organize these. Basically, it's like an Excel spreadsheet, but not lame. You can organize it a whole bunch of ways, and it's a much easier way to access your digital and link to all your digital files. This is just an example of how Notion works. And for those of you really serious about digitizing, having a central place where all of you can literally click and link to all of your stuff can really be a time saver. So instead of searching through your Google Drive, you can go to your database table, click on seasonal, click on Halloween, there's the link, and there's your resource. So again, I appreciate that for those of you who are new to tables and databases, it can seem a little overwhelming, but I have to tell you, the learning curve goes pretty quick, and there's so much help if you're using a program like Notion. And again, for those of you who are new to it, there is a free tier. And with that free tier comes a lot of sample pages and like sample templates that you can borrow and get started with. So that's one thing that we really find useful. I don't know how we would function without that type of organization. Now, I'm just going to go back to my slideshow. There we go.
Are we going to be sharing like a link to that database that teachers can read?
Yeah. Would anybody like a link to that so they can kind of play around and take a look at? Sure, we could do that for sure. And I'm sure, Craig says, couldn't you do that with a Google Drive as well? Not to that extent. You can use like Sheets, Google Sheets, and do stuff. I find so for Full Voice, we have Google Drive for storage, and we also have, because we have huge files, right? So we don't want to put huge files. If you have a paid version of Notion, you can upload the files. So if you wanted to have every file organized in Notion, you could put it there. We don't do things like that. We use Google as our storage. But navigating Google with shared folders is a nightmare for a team. We've tried, we've even asked AI, and AI's like, yeah, Google doesn't really do that well, does it? Now, I don't know whether AI just hates Google. I don't know, maybe it's a personal thing, but we find it easier to use the Notion databases, have everything in the Notion. I have an Excel spreadsheet. Yes, Excel, you can do that. Again, there's limitations with Excel. So the Excels, and they now have like some drop-down feature menus. Again, I find them a little clunky, but can you create more than one database? Absolutely. How many databases do you think we have, Mem?
A new database daily.
Right? Yeah. So like we have databases on databases. We have database for our music. We have database for podcasts. We have database for live office hours. Like literally it's database central.
But that's because the convenience of having those databases is just like so clear. Like just from use, I'm like, it just needs to be a database is basically everything in our lives now. This should be a database. So join us.
So what we'll do is we will make that page that I shared, we'll make it live. We'll share it and you can check it out. You can play around with it and click on it, and you can even we're happy to answer any questions if anybody has any questions. But I definitely highly recommend if you're Craig, I'm not excited about adding another thing. I totally feel you. If you have tools and they are working for you, my goodness, do not. If you are having no problems finding things, absolutely. If you're just getting started in digitizing or you're looking to really organize it, this would be something I would introduce and maybe give it a try. But I totally recognize that. Thank you for being honest, Craig. I know. I feel the same way. I feel the same way with social media. It's like every time, it's like, what? There's this new trend. There's this new thing. My son's, what did he send me? He sent me an Insta. Oh, what is this? What do I have to do something new now? Anyhow, all right, I'm going to go back to my presentation because there's a few more slides here. Can everybody see my screen? All right, and I just got to find, I want to make sure I don't miss the chat. Where's my chat? Oh, Craig says my challenge is that I have so much digital stuff. Yes, I know. So getting that, it's a lot. I just want to, for those of you interested in Notion, basically Notion offers you a centralized database for your organization. So it's a searchable database. You can create custom views to find things easily. You can use it for student tracking. You can build a song bank database, streamline your lesson plans. It's all in there. And it's like anything else, a little bit of a learning curve. Mim is our Notion ninja. So I'll be like, I need it to do this. Can you just make it do this? And then I come back to this beautiful page. Okay. For my Mac users, anybody here using Fourscore? Yeah, Craig's using Fourscore. Craig, do you like Fourscore? Yes. Yeah. Everybody. Chloe says, yes, I love it. Yes. It's very, very powerful. And I think that Craig's used it for over 15 years. Wow. You see that more and more. I mean, it was the other day at church, there was like 4 guys in their 80s playing guitar, but they all had an iPad with their music, and I was like, yay! For those of you who haven't checked out Fourscore, a really powerful app. It is for iPad only. I don't think you can get it. Does it work on? Yeah, it's only iPad. So, but if you are importing your files, excuse me, going back to what we said, you need to have your naming system together. Otherwise, if you scan things and it's XYZ 523 August 19th, you're not going to find any of your songs. So make sure that you've got a file name system that works, and that you know where your files are going, because they have to be inputted from, as far as I understand, your email or from your iCloud, right? From your drive, is that correct? I'm seeing nods. Okay, awesome. I do want to remind everybody, who here backs up their stuff regularly? Oh, Craig does. Cool. Craig, you were worrying me. All right. Who here has not backed up their stuff in a while? Come on. We'll share the love with you. Lisa, Linda. All right. I'm putting my hand up because usually it's done on a Friday and I have to get a new drive. So I haven't backed up my computer. It's really important to know that when you are backing up, there is a 3-2-1 rule. 3 copies of your data in total. So one could be obviously on your computer. Then you need 2 different storage types. So we have little hard drives, the Full Voice Music. Everybody has a Full Voice Music hard drive. It's got a terabyte, and everybody backs up their systems onto that. And then we have a big cloud that everything goes up to. And you want to make sure that you have a copy off-site. If something, heaven forbid, were to happen to your home, your office, your studio, you want to know that if that is destroyed, your information is safe somewhere else. So every once in a while, I'll do a big backup, and it goes down to my mom's place. It just stays there, just for fun. Craig just said something. I have 100 terabyte. Yes, external drive that I save everything to. Yep. Awesome. I just want to go back to Craig's comment about Fourscore. There's a couple of trade-offs with it. The biggest is that you can only see one page at a time. Ooh, that would be hard if you're old and have bad vision like me. But you don't have to worry about turning pages. Ooh, you have the Bluetooth pedal. or wind blowing your music at outdoor events. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, I'm feeling the pain and suffering of not having my reading glasses. Like I now when I'm like shopping, they just have to stay on my head and I'm like, "Oh." Um you can see 2 pages at a time in landscape mode on Fourscore, but it will be smaller. Oh, well, there it is right there. If it's smaller, I can't read it. Hence the vision comment. Awesome. You know what, I was looking at one of those, the new iPads, the larger ones. I mean, they are quite spectacular, but I can see needing it to be vertical. Yeah, Craig's showing it right there. Yeah, they're beautiful. But going back to the backing up. Oh, Nikki says I had to buy the big iPad Pro to make it work better for me. Ooh. You know, any excuse to buy some new beautiful tech, I'm there for you. Too blind. I got it. I got it. All right, going back to the backing up because I don't want you guys to slough this off. Please, 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 if you're going to the trouble of digitizing your library, your anything, backups are essential. And the 3-2-1 backup rule is so important. Make sure that you have 3 copies of data, 2 different types of storages, and 1 copy stored offsite. Please make sure that you're backing things up. Mim says, friends comment on my giant laptop, and I'm like, I gotta see multiple pages, right? I hear you. I hear you. Now, I do want to shout out to quite a few people who had some suggestions. And I mean, most people were like, I like using the folders. I have a color coded system. I think make it fun. Make it fun. Make it colorful. Make it interesting. You're creative musicians. Make it look cool. Make you happy. When you open your drawers, does it make you happy or does it cause great anxiety? Find your joy in organization. One of the questions that was asked is, you know, like going back to that first picture of the studio with all of the stuff. I think part of part of your administrative time, at least what I used to do, um, was kind of book the studio cleaning or studio org time, but I'd make it fun. I'd grab my favorite drink because there was a Starbucks on the way up to the church. I'd grab a drink, I'd grab some snacks, I'd throw on some playlists of music that was new to me. So I was like learning new songs and cleaning up my and organizing my studio. But I think that's really just part of it. And I know I don't have to say this, but I will. When we are looking at our studios, obviously we are looking at professional spaces. So whether you're teaching online or whether you're teaching in person, these are professional spaces. And when we are inviting people in, we have to remember that extra clutter, boxes and piles can be distracting, especially for younger students, right? I think an adult can understand, you know, oh, we got a little pile over here, pile over there. But for younger students, it can be really stressful for them to see a lot of piles of stuff or to be surrounded by clutter. So just something to keep in mind when you're organizing things. I'm just gonna go through
Nikki,
this. Yeah,
I would like to share something that is kind of a mindset and strategy that has helped me a lot.
sure.
So this comes, I think, from more like organizing your closet and your clothes and stuff. I don't know if some of you have heard of that thing about you take all your clothes and you turn the hanger around so it's the wrong way. And then after a certain amount of time, you know which clothes you wear and which clothes you don't wear because you put them back the regular way, right? And so essentially, I tried that with my digital files, and I think in theory we could do it with our physical things as well. It's kind of like my marking date was 2022. I decided I was going to get my digital stuff in order. So I have in my hard drive, I have my folder pre like 2022 and earlier. And then anything that I used, I grabbed out of there and brought into my current stuff. And then it was really neat just to go back. And I was like, I know when I have to dig back into that archive that it's going to be a bit of a slog. Like I'll be searching, I'll be looking. I'm like, where is it? I don't know. But everything since then, mwah, beautiful. So easy to find. And it's just that moment of kind of starting and accepting that there's kind of a, you've just put a little screen, a filter to hide the mess, but everything in front of it is very tidy and you'll gradually add to it. So there's a little bit of allowing yourself to start, have a starting point, and then just go and be free.
I love that. And I can see for me, I'd have like probably a couple of folders. I'd be like 2022, but also, and then 20, but maybe this one. I wanted to, is Juliet here? I don't know if Juliet is here. Juliet had a really great tip that I wanted to share. She teaches both online and in person. And she says, when I am working with my students, I have a temporary, she calls it the lesson folder. She has a folder on her desktop where all of the files that are needed for that day live in. And she goes, I used to keep them on my desktop, and then my desktop would be like a mess of icons and stuff. She goes, now I have a, Tuesday folder, and anything that I need for my lessons, my online lessons on Tuesday are in that folder. And then that way, and they're copied in there. So that way I can I don't have a ton of stuff living on my desktop. I know where it is, and then it can go back to where it came from before without it cluttering up and being in another location. And I really like that because I kind of have that on my desktop. Like when we're working on a project, I have a folder called stuff, and it's the stuff that I'm working on that week, and all the files are there. And then what I'm supposed to do is clean that out and delete things that I don't need, which I eventually do when the stuff folder gets too full. But keeping it organized like that, I thought that was really helpful. Did anybody want to share? I'm going to open it up. Does anybody else have like a tip or a hack or a question? I'm going to go back to the gallery view so I can see people. Anybody want to offer? No? Oh, wait. I see posts. No? Oh, Julie.
I think I used to organize on Google Drive, and now I use my music staff.
Yes.
My scheduling, student resources, blah, blah, blah. But I discovered that they have a resources thing with unlimited storage. Like I have all my songs organized in there, my student notes. I can track what repertoire they've worked on, how long they worked on it for. So I can go in if I am picking a new song, I'm like, oh shoot, they did it already. That kind of thing. So it's been amazing, and my students use it as their practice as well. So I've got vocal exercise tracks and theory, and they just click on a link in their lesson notes and they have access to it. So it's been an amazing feature.
I really love my music staff. They have just continually improved their services, and they listen to teachers, which I love. Like if you have a request, if you're looking for a feature and you send it to them, they take it very seriously. I had the pleasure several years ago of actually interviewing them for the Full Voice podcast, and I got to see like my music staff and the whole thing. And it's a really great company. They work so hard at getting new features. And yes, if there's something that the program doesn't do, you send them an email, they'll put it on their list, and eventually, if it's valuable, they'll get it going. I love that about them. Any other shared hacks that anybody else would like to add while we're here? I don't know. I think we're good. All right. Okay, so let's just quickly recap. First and foremost, the first step you want to do is go through your stuff and find the stuff you use all the time, the stuff you use seasonally, and then what you need to archive. Whether archiving is a box, that's eventually taken to the recycling depot, or whether it's tucked away somewhere. But getting your the things that you need at hand all the time in where you need them. And also don't forget your systems, right? So your organization systems, your folder hierarchy, your file naming conventions, make sure that it serves you, that it makes it easier to find the things that you're looking for. And if you're checking out a more database or organizational tools, Notion is a great tool to get started with. It is free, but we also have, if you're using My Music Staff, are you using it to its full advantages? Are you using the student notes? Are you able to share the things? That's a great tool as well. I'm going to go back to my share here. Where's my share button? There we go. If you're still feeling a little overwhelmed, and big cleanouts can certainly make us feel overwhelmed, and if you are the keeper of many collections of music, it can be even more overwhelming, but the best way is always just to take one action step. Just get started in the right direction. It's some people work well if it's like, no, I have a deadline date of August 30th and that's when my whole studio will be digitized, but that might not be your thing, and you just take those baby steps to get yourself organized. Before we go to our draw, I do want to mention that this Wednesday, Dr. Ginevra Williams will be talking about vocal health for children. That is our live webinar, our workshop, and we still have a few seats available if anybody is interested. And if you're getting ready for your teaching season, this is something we don't usually do, but we have a little workbook sale. So if you're purchasing 5 or more workbooks, there is a coupon. Workbooks, is it workbook or workbooks?
Correct as written. Workbook.
Okay, workbooks plural 20 if you're purchasing any workbooks. And now, my friends, we got to have some draws. So I am going to add Ginevra's workshop into the draw, but the other gifts on the draws are our play-based learning online course or Ginevra's voice change and growth in kids and teens online course as well. So if you want to deep dive into adolescent voice, Ginevra's workshop or Ginevra's online course, or if you want to do the vocal health. And if you've done all of those, we'll figure something out. We'll send you a gift somehow. So, Min, tell everybody what they got to do to get in for the draw. Oh, you're muted.
I just put the links in the chat.
Okay.
And note that there are actually 2 links to online courses squished together. So move your mouse around and find the 2 different links that didn't quite work out the way my paste was supposed to work. Anywho, yeah, so what we're going to do is I'm going to post a link to a wheel of names. And what you do is you just go in the form, write your name, and then we'll put your names in the wheel and then we'll spin the wheel. So I'm just grabbing that link right now and I will post it in the chat. Here comes the link. Okay, and I'm looking for approximately sort of 12 to 15 names based on the number of participants.
All right, so while you're registering yourself for your prizes, does anybody have any other, do we want to share some more tips or anything? Has anybody got something else they want to share? Everybody's typing their names in.
Yeah, it's like, I'm working here. Can't type and talk.
I guess
it's Talia.
Yeah,
Talia, go ahead.
And I'm sure there's like an equivalent for non-iPhone Apple users, but like I like that my notes, it's just their simple notes app. It syncs on my iPad, my computer, and my phone. And so like if I'm with a student and I just need to jot down like an idea, like I have a note for every student that I teach in there, and I like keep a list of their repertoire, and like ideas that either they or I come up with, or like where they are in progress, like if we're using a full voice book, what lessons we've done and the date and stuff. And it's just like a really quick way, because I always have my iPad or my phone or my computer, like something, and it, because it's across all of those, I can pull it up quickly just for like those quick lesson notes. I'm sure there are better ways or more beautiful ways to do it, but it's easy to search because I can just type in their name and pull it up and have like notes about them and what we're doing. So it's just fast and efficient for me.
That's brilliant. That I love that you brought that up. I mean, the syncing of apps and programs between phones, iPads and stuff, that's always the challenge, right? Is getting like the data to where it needs to go. So anything that syncs is beautiful. Is that the notes that's native to the iPhone, iPad?
Yeah, that's what I use. I'm sure you can download a prettier notes app and one that maybe gives you more features and like that organizes it in a fancier way, but sometimes simple for me is like less overwhelming, and I can like I have a bunch of folders. So I have like a studio folder, and like I teach college students, so I have like a university folder, and they're in there, and then my private studio's in another folder, and like also when I'm typing up emails or something that I don't want to just type it in the email and accidentally send it to everybody before it's ready, I just like type it in a note and like have it saved in my studio thing in case somebody's like, I didn't get that email, and then I can just like copy and paste it and resend it or whatever. So I just like keep those things in there, and then sometimes I go back through and like delete old stuff over time, but like it stays there for a while. So.
I love that. That's brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. I love that. Does anybody have other tips? That's very helpful. Nobody here at Full Voice, we're not Apple. We don't use Apple. So it's interesting, like some of the native things. And there's things that I love about Apple that I adore. And then there's, it doesn't matter which side there's always limitations, right? But anybody else want to share before we get to the draw, or you just want your prizes? Somebody said Julie's bookcase is wonderful organized. It is. Julie, your bookcase is rocking there. And so is Linda. Look at Linda's organized there. See, we've all got that. Behind here, these cabinets, it's the same thing. It's like binders and binders of resources and stuff like that. Yeah, I love it. I want to thank everybody here for coming out to the live offices. It's always so nice to see everybody. Before I let everybody go, on a scale from 1 to 10, you can put it in the chat. How prepared are you for the new season of singing? 1 to 10. Ooh, Craig's an 8. Craig's 7, 5. Okay. 6. Oh my goodness. Oh, Joyce, have a good week, Joyce. All right, 6. I started lessons yesterday. Already? Wait. Is your school's back already? Wait. 4 to 5. Oh, okay. So if you've already started the back to school season, for here in Canada, it's like Labor Day. It's like then it starts, right? Labor Day, and then yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I got 7s and 5s. All right, wherever you are and getting ready, I want to wish everybody an incredible season of singing. I want to encourage people to check out Full Voice Music. There's a bunch of fun stuff on there, and it's already digitized for you. You're welcome. You just have to rename it to whatever you want. And you need to put it in the Let's Use This Tomorrow folder, not the archive folder. Okay. I want to thank everybody for their time today, for their questions and everything. As always, Mim and I are wishing you happy singing and inspired teaching, and we will see everybody very soon.